Welcome to TradeTheMBA.com. This is John. This report is for the 30th, and as we end the month, everyone was so terrified of. We're still at the peaks, though we can see some expressed weakness potentially starting here. Failure of short-term buyers in the steel crossing below. However, we're still pretty close. Got -2 for the green, -90 for cyan. So they're kind of both trailing just a fraction lower on what is decent shakeout for now. We would need to see a lower shakeout reading before you would get anything significant, and certainly watching to see if any Azure pops up, because if it does, that will extend the run most likely until there's a meeting of the two, or at least a near close one. Of course, we have rising DOC, not DOC, but the ABM yellow now all the way up to the 30. That's 18 level. Let's verify that one. Yep. And that's fine. No problem with the pause, and which was interesting too, because for most of the intraday action, I wasn't even able to get on until late for the day, though as soon as it did pop in, we had a beautiful short setup develop, and was able to take that within the broader context. Now you can see how much more powerful the NASDAQ is, and this is just a clear distinction between the two. With cyan under red, it was very clean. Same drop off in short-term buyers, that's not a shock, but that this discrepancy of red reaching the 0 point, and this becomes critical too, because whenever you get to that 0 point, every time you get a failure or near failure there, that usually leads to a pretty decent retrace point. The never-ending no exit, Brit exit is certainly helping the euro at this particular point. Once it was realized that there wasn't going to be a hard exit, boom, the real money started taking off, and that actually is good for the S&P in that, because of the exchange improvement for earnings. So euro on the way back up within the range. Now we're back into that 111 range, which is the bottom side. We kind of have had, the real bottom down at the 108, actually it's like 108.4 or something like that, and the upside at the 115. So we're right in the middle of where we had been, which was right around that 111.5 range, going up, and it's a critical element for U.S. trade, because it certainly helps some of the products when the euro gets a little more expensive. Unless you're in Europe, then it makes it more expensive to live in general, buying other items. So from a USO standpoint, we're just right in line. There's nothing really happening with that. I prefer, actually, though, like on the euro situation, going down makes it cheaper to convert U.S. currencies to it, but don't always get what you want. And it's interesting, because going into the winter months there, usually we have like a cyclical weakness that happens through the middle of December, and we'll see if that has an effect at all. And from a gold standpoint, nothing, because it's pretty quiet out in the world. Other than the impeachment, which is continuing, that kind of stuff. But the more noise there is with the politics in Washington means nothing is getting done, and when nothing gets done, the market does usually pretty well during that. Nobody's getting in the way of anything. So when we first came in, I popped in and put this short as it developed, because it was just a beautiful combination move of everything that we look for. DOC spread with the cyan moving above red, steel crossing below, green crossing below red, and the orange spike above. And it was fun, because I posted it when we had like this little pop was happening, and so it was looking like, ooh, maybe he's just gonna have a bad trade for once. No, you just have to wait for it, and then boom. We had no real necessity to reach this low again, but once it started to cascade and we really weren't seeing any action, I mean, it was very slow, no dip back below the red line, so it's kind of critical when you're looking for a continuation extension. It took a long time, but it doesn't matter. It was worth the wait on it. When we finally did get the crossover, there was nothing from a orange dip, and we were already still in a cascade lower of the shakeout, which I kind of like. Plus, we had the dip below the red line, so I was expecting lows to be taken out. When that happened on higher extreme, I would have been very concerned if I had seen a significant steel reset. This could have produced a little bit more with the steel spike above negative 13.5, but didn't sustain itself with a cross of green at the same time. That's usually what you're looking for, is that cross of green, like right there. And then boom, early birds would be like, hey, I like this when they start to split like that. Certainly confirmed it by the next bar. The clean short came in with the steel cross, and you can see that's why we've taken out those lows. Clean, simple, fun. I'll be sending out indicators probably later in the market day to day, and that way all through Halloween it'll be quiet, so it'll be easy. As always though, trade well, and I will certainly put up more trades like this one. This was just a beautiful little run right there. Can't complain about that kind of thing. That was easy. So trade well. We'll talk to you later.